Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for over 165 million years. There were many theropods throughout the Mesozoic era that were extremely formidable. We've picked 72 that dominate the others. In this show, we will talk about these dangerous animals, including when they lived, what they ate, their weaponry, and how humans would fare if these creatures were still alive. From the tyrant lizard king, to the lord of the lizard eaters, to the meat-eating bull, this is 72 Dangerous Animals Prehistory.
Sinotyrannus grew up to 33 feet long and weighed up to 5,600 pounds. It lived 120 million years ago in China. Sinotyrannus, the Chinese tyrant, was a large tyrannosauroid from the early Cretaceous period. Sinotyrannus was in the family Proceratosauridae and was the largest member, as others, such as Guanlong and Proceratosaurus, were less than 12 feet long. Eutyrannus was the only other large member. The rest were puny in comparison to it and Sinotyrannus. Like Eutyrannus, Sinotyrannus likely had feathers. It was the largest theropod in its habitat, making it the apex predator. It had serrated teeth in its jaws. It hunted and killed smaller dinosaurs. Sinotyrannus may have had a tall nasal crest like other Proceratosaurids, but we don't know for sure since that part of its skull was not preserved. Its bones preserve several primitive features not seen in later tyrannosaurs. It was once thought that Sinotyrannus was the earliest tyrannosaurid due to its large size, but newer studies of the primitive features in its bones point to it being a Proceratosaurid. Sinotyrannus' large size and powerful jaws make it a dangerous predator, easily capable of taking you out. Sinotyrannus takes first place for now. Can it be overtaken by a monstrous Spinosaurid that's size is often underestimated? Baryonyx's holotype was 33 feet long and was a young juvenile. An adult could have been 50 feet long or larger. The holotype would have weighed around 4,400 pounds. However, a full-grown adult could have been up to 16,000. It lived 130 to 125 million years ago in England. Baryonyx, the heavy claw, was a medium to gigantic-sized Spinosaurid from the early Cretaceous period. Baryonyx was named after the large claws on its first fingers that were up to 12 inches long. In life, they would have been covered by a keratinous sheath, bringing the total length of the claws up to 18 inches. The claws on its other fingers were much smaller. It was originally assumed to be a dromaeosaur based on its large claws. After its discovery in 1986, Baryonyx was called the best find of the century in Europe, and the individual was nicknamed Claws, as a pun of the movie titled Jaws. Baryonyx's holotype is the most complete Spinosaurid skeleton known. Baryonyx's holotype specimen was 33 feet long and not fully grown. An adult Baryonyx could have been 50 feet long, or even larger. Baryonyx isn't always represented as being small, however. Rudy from Ice Age 3 was over 100 feet long. Baryonyx had an elongated low snout like that of a gharial. Its teeth interlocked perfectly. Its teeth were serrated and conical. Baryonyx had around 120 teeth in its jaws. It had a triangular crest on top of its head. It had a hump running along the center of its back, made up from tall neural spines on its vertebrae. Baryonyx had powerful front limbs that were sturdy and muscular. Baryonyx was the first dinosaur found to be piscivorous, with fish scales preserved in its stomach. A juvenile iguanodontid was found in the stomach of a Baryonyx, meaning it didn't eat just fish. Baryonyx caught and killed its prey using its powerful arms and deadly claws. While it preyed on animals other than fish, Baryonyx was likely not a super predator like Suchomimus and likely fed on smaller animals rather than killing prey its own size. Baryonyx's holotype skull was estimated to be over 3 feet long. Its sense of smell was underdeveloped and it likely relied on sight when hunting. Baryonyx lived alongside 2 other spinosaurids of a similar size to its holotype. It lived in a habitat filled with freshwater and brackish shallow water, lagoons, and marshes. Baryonyx would have been very dangerous to humans with its massive claws and toothy jaws, especially if it was at maximum size. Baryonyx steals first place from Sinotyrannus, pushing it to number 2. Up next, another Spinosaurid. Suchosaurus grew up to 33 feet long and weighed up to 4,400 pounds. It lived 139.8 to 122.5 million years ago in England and Portugal. Suchosaurus, the crocodile lizard, was a medium-sized spinosaurid from the early Cretaceous period. When first discovered, it was thought to be a species of crocodile in the Crocodylus genus, which includes the modern saltwater crocodile and Nile crocodile, as well as 12 other species of modern crocodiles, and 5 species of extinct crocodiles. There are 2 species of Suchosaurus, one of which was named based on several teeth, and the other on a partial jaw and 1 tooth. Suchosaurus is very closely related to Baryonyx. In fact, Suchosaurus is possibly a senior synonym to Baryonyx, meaning if Suchosaurus and Baryonyx turn out to be the same, Baryonyx will be renamed Suchosaurus rather than Suchosaurus being renamed Baryonyx. The type species name means dagger tooth. In 1822, Gideon Mantell reported his discovery of fossilized teeth that he acquired in 1820. In 1824, these teeth were illustrated, marking the first time a picture was drawn of a Spinosaurid fossil. Spinosaurids, however, weren't recognized until the discovery of Spinosaurus 88 years later. Suchosaurus would have had a small ridge over its back like Baryonyx and Suchomimus. It also would have had large claws on its fingers that it would have used to kill prey. Suchosaurus likely preyed on fish and small dinosaurs. It could have used its large claws to catch you and rip you into smaller pieces to swallow. Suchosaurus overpowers Sinotyrannus, but can't top Baryonyx. It takes second, pushing Sinotyrannus to third. Incoming, a Tyrannosaur with thermal vision. Daspletosaurus grew up to 36 feet long and weighed up to 11,000 pounds. It lived 78 to 74.4 million years ago in North America. Daspletosaurus, the frightful lizard, was a large tyrannosaur from the late Cretaceous period. Daspletosaurus was closely related to Tyrannosaurus. It has been suggested that the Tyrannosaur Thanatothyristes, the Reaper of Death, is a synonym to Daspletosaurus, though this is not widely supported. Like other tyrannosaurs, Daspletosaurus had 2 fingers on its short arms. However, its arms were the longest proportionate to body size of any tyrannosaur. Daspletosaurus was the apex predator of its environment, using its massive teeth to kill ceratopsians and hadrosaurs. Daspletosaurus, like other theropods, had lips covering its teeth. A Daspletosaurus skeleton was found with a juvenile hadrosaur preserved in its stomach. Daspletosaurus shared some of its range with Gorgosaurus, but they fed on different prey, preventing a need for competition. Daspletosaurus had a heavily constructed, massive skull that was over 3 feet long and made up of fused bones. Daspletosaurus averaged 28 to 30 feet in length, but the largest individual was 36 feet long. A skin impression has been found from Daspletosaurus, though it is unknown what part of the body it belongs to. Daspletosaurus had sensory organs in its skin that would have been used to read temperatures and detect prey. A young Daspletosaurus and an adult both feature bite marks on their skulls that were inflicted by another Daspletosaurus. It is thought that the bite was a result of competition for territory or resources. Daspletosaurus lived in small social groups and hunted and fed together. As with Tyrannosaurus, mentioned in our Tyrannosaurus segment in episode 6, the parasite Trichomonas has been found infecting some Daspletosaurus jawbones. Daspletosaurus would have been a dangerous predator. It could have attacked you and its family group and instantly killed you with one bite from its powerful jaws. Daspletosaurus takes second, pushing Suchosaurus to third and Sinotyrannus to fourth. Up next, a carcharodontosaur that resembled a tyrannosaur. Tyranotitan grew up to 43 feet long and weighed up to 15,400 pounds. It lived 118 million years ago in Argentina. Tyranotitan, the tyrant titan, was a giant carcharodontosaurid from the early Cretaceous period. It is very closely related to Carcharodontosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and Mapusaurus, all of which are featured in R72. Tyranotitan lacked air-filled spaces in its bones, unlike other Carcharodontosaurs. Tyranotitan had very well-developed arms, however they were very small and would have been useless for hunting. Its scapula resembles a tyrannosaur's and may have been a result of convergent evolution. Tyranotitan, as a later Carcharodontosaur, shows that Carcharodontosaurs were evolving to be tyrannosaur-like. As well as its arms, its teeth resembled tyrannosaurs in that they were much thicker than other Carcharodontosaurs. It had a narrow V-shaped head and around 60 teeth in its mouth. Its teeth were heavily serrated like all Carcharodontosaurs. It would use these teeth to slice chunks out of its prey while it was still alive, like sharks. Tyranotitan fed on sauropods as its main prey, taking chunks out of them without killing the animal so that they could come back and feed again after the animal healed. Infinite food glitch? It had a small ridge on its back like spinosaurids such as Suchomimus, Suchosaurus, and Baryonyx. It could run at speeds of up to 20 miles per hour. Tyranotitan was a powerful predator, easily capable of killing you. It likely would have bit you in half just like a great white shark could. Then it would gobble up to pieces and you would be no more. Tyranotitan was massive and powerful, but it can't top Baryonyx. It takes second, pushing Daspletosaurus to third, Suchosaurus to fourth, and Sinotyrannus to fifth. Next up, a pack-hunting theropod that has even the Indominus Rex beat in brutal killing power. Allosaurus grew up to 43 feet long and weighed up to 12,000 pounds. It lived 155 to 145 million years ago in North America and Portugal. Allosaurus, the different lizard, was a giant allosaurid from the late Jurassic period. At the time of its discovery, its concave vertebrae were unique, resulting in it taking the name different lizard. It was one of the first well-known theropod dinosaurs. However, the bone wars complicated the study of its bones, as many new theropod genera were named that were actually Allosaurus. There are 3 species of Allosaurus. The type species of Allosaurus averaged around 28 feet long, however the largest species maxed out at around 40 to 43 feet long. In 1991, a 95% complete Allosaurus skeleton was discovered and nicknamed Big Al. Big Al was named for its scientific importance, completeness, and preservation. 19 of Big Al's bones were either broken or seriously infected. Another mostly complete Allosaurus skeleton was discovered in 1996. It was named Big Al 2. Big Al 2 also had many injuries. Several skin impressions have been discovered that belong to Allosaurus. A piece of skin from the chest showed small scales, while a piece of skin from the underside of the neck showed larger scales. A piece of skin from the bottom jaw preserved small scales as well. Like Tyrannosaurus, an Allosaurus specimen preserved medullary tissue, revealing that the individual was female and was carrying eggs. Juvenile Allosaurus had proportionately longer legs than adults, meaning they could run faster. Allosaurus resembled Tyrannosaurus in that it could live to be around 28 years old. Allosaurus had medium-sized arms, equipped with 3 fingers and 8-inch claws. Allosaurus had a horn over each of its eyes that would have been covered by a keratin sheath in life. These horns would shade its eyes from the sun, allowing it to see better, as well as being a display, as they were likely brightly colored. A 43-foot-long Allosaurus would have had a head that was 4.6 feet long. Allosaurus had 76 teeth that started out long and became shorter and more curved towards the back of its skull. Its teeth were serrated and were shed regularly like a shark's. Serrated teeth meant that it could cut through its prey's flesh effortlessly, like a hot knife through butter. Allosaurus was the apex predator of its environment, killing and eating stegosaurs, hadrosaurs, sauropods, and other carnivores, including Ceratosaurus and Torvosaurus. Like tyrannosaurs, Allosaurus also had a ridge running along the top of its skull that would have allowed for more muscle attachment, providing it with a stronger bite. Allosaurus had a great sense of smell, as well as the Jacobson's organ that allowed it to smell and taste the air. This would have helped it be an excellent hunter that could have tracked its prey for miles. It could hear well, but was much more adapted for picking up low frequencies, and due to this had trouble hearing quieter noises. Allosaurus could slide its bottom jaw forward and downward due to its flexible connections between its bones, allowing it to take a bigger bite than other dinosaurs of a similar size. Allosaurus had a bite force of 55,500 newtons, which is just 1,500 below Tyrannosaurus rex. While Allosaurus was capable of breaking bones with its bite, it didn't use its mouth for this. Rather, it would charge forward with its mouth wide open at an angle of 92 degrees, which is wider than every other dinosaur and even the Indominus rex while biting the gyrosphere, and slam into its prey like a battering ram. Then it would step backwards, ripping a huge chunk of flesh from its prey. Allosaurus would repetitively rip chunks from its victims until they are weakened from blood loss or collapsed from the pain. While slicing chunks out of its target, its skull slid back and forth, removing meat without splintering bones. Its skull was also dual purpose. It was light enough to efficiently damage and kill agile hadrosaurs and strong enough to collide with sauropods without taking damage. As well as killing its sauropod prey, it also likely took part in the infinite food glitch, biting chunks out of sauropods to sustain itself, then leaving the animal alive so that it could come back later and attack it again. To kill hadrosaurs, Allosaurus grabbed them with its muscular arms and pinned them down, then ripped out their throats with its teeth. It could deliver rapid, forceful bites straight downwards as well. While feeding on a carcass, Allosaurus stood on top of its prey to hold it down and bit into it, then yanked its head upwards vertically to rip out a chunk like modern birds of prey. Tyrannosaurus, on the other hand, ripped prey apart like crocodilians, shaking their head to the side to tear off a chunk of meat. While Allosaurus didn't have complete binocular vision like Tyrannosaurus, it still had enough to judge the distance of its prey and time attacks. Allosaurus had air sacs like modern birds. These allowed it to run fast, at 34 miles per hour, and run long distances without tiring. It could chase its prey down, and since it had a larger stride than its prey, it could have caught up quickly and outlasted them. Its prey would quickly become tired, and Allosaurus could deliver brutal attacks to take it out. Allosaurus was capable of taking out the largest animals in its habitat, the sauropods Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, and the 215-foot-long Marapunosaurus, previously known as Amphicoelius. Allosaurus was likely a pack hunter, using its numbers to take down these massive sauropods. The group of Allosaurus could initiate a battering ram group attack, with individuals slamming into a sauropod over and over, removing meat each time, essentially acting like a supersized pack of piranhas. You are out in the wilderness, when suddenly you hear a strange, unfamiliar noise. You turn, and there they are, a pack of Allosaurus, their eyes glinting with a predatory hunger. The alpha, a massive beast with scars crisscrossing its snout, lets out a low growl. The other Allosauruses circle around you, cutting off any chance of escape. The alpha lunges, its jaws snapping shut around your midsection. Serrated teeth slice through your flesh and bones, pain exploding through your body. Blood pours from your wounds, staining the beast's teeth. Two more Allosauruses dart forward, one biting down on your head, the other on your legs. Their serrated teeth slice through you with brutal efficiency. With a coordinated tug, your body is torn into 3 pieces. Each predator swallows its prize, leaving behind only a few scattered bones. The other Allosauruses fight over the bones. Allosaurus overpowers the entire pack with its killing power and brute strength, taking first place. Baryonyx, Tyrannotitan, Daspletosaurus, Suchosaurus, and Sinotyrannus finish in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, respectively. Allosaurus wins this episode and moves on to our finalists. Next episode on 72 Dangerous Animals Prehistory, the Eye of Sauron, the Lord of the Lizard Eaters, and the Earth Lizard. The famous Tyrannosaurus individual known as Sue was not actually a female. It was named Sue after the paleontologist who discovered it, Susan Sue Hendrickson.
In each episode, we will rank the creatures from 1 to 6 on a scale of how potentially dangerous these creatures would be to humans, and the winner of each episode will showdown with the other 11 finalists in the season finale to decide on which prehistoric creature was the ultimate human killing machine.